All right, welcome back, everybody, to another Real Talk video. I pray y'all are having a wonderful, blessed day as we give the Most High all the honor, the glory, and all the praise and worship. My title now says, how could the Most High destroy those animals in the flood? How and why would the Most High do such a thing when the animals, they didn't do anything wrong? This is a shout out to you, and a video response back to you, Sister Annette Johnson. Great email. I noticed in your email you say how you love animals and you've been studying the Bible. Why would the Most High do such a thing as precious as a lot of animals excuse me. Um, One thing I always like to say in a video like this, my beautiful sister, that it's one thing to know of the Most High, but when you know the Most High, when he lays out everything in his word that shows us, when you spend time and you study and pray in the spirit and ask for the Most High to reveal things, you'll start looking at the Bible a whole different way versus what somebody else said. So once again, this is not a stupid question or questions that you asking in this email. I always tell people it's not what we know that hurt us, it's what we don't know. Now, let's say this off top. The Most High didn't destroy all animals. Now, we know that the flood was a punishment, but we must understand what really happened in Noah's day. And I have separate videos on here about those fallen angels also, if you want to see them. But who did what in Noah's day? Once you understand who, what, when, where, how, who was it talking to, who was important, then you start really seeing, in the spiritual realm, what the Most High is showing us. Now, when you go to Genesis chapter 6, this is the flood. A lot of people argue about this is fake and never happened. So many arguments, but it's each to their own. You believe what you believe, just like I believe what I believe. But to those that believe, this was the Most High's time where he was so frustrated and mad at the creation that he created because it got so wicked. And if it wasn't for Noah, man, it could have went a whole lot worse. But in this chapter 6, the fallen angels, or some may call them the watchers, like the book of Enoch says, the watchers. But when you study that, matter of fact, let's pull it up. I got it right here. Bear with me for 1 second. Let me get my scriptures back up here. Genesis chapter 6, verse 1 says, and it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them. Verse 2 says, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. And verse 3 says, and the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh. Yet his days shall be 120 years. Verse 4 says, there were giants in the earth in those days. And also after that, when the sons of God came into the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men which were of old, men of renown. Verse 5 says, and God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And verse 6 says, and it repented the Lord that he made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart. And verse 7 says, and the Lord said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and the creeping thing, and the fowls of the earth, for it repented me that I have made them. But then verse 8 says, but Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. Now, I wanted to read all that to sum it up and say this. This is the time where the fallen angels came there. They saw that the daughters of men looked good. They was beautiful. The Bible say they was fair. So, once again, They weren't all the way human. Just walk with me for a minute. So now you have fallen angels, or the watchers, some call, mixing in with women who produce giants. Some may call them Nephilims, different names, whatever you want to call them. But this is where the giants took place. So that was wickedness. Now, when you think about that, he spared many more animals than he did humans. But once again, who was really all that human? We can say that the daughters of men. Now the question is, was those women all the way human? Or were they already mixed with something? See, to me, these women was already human because they was daughters of men. See, the fallen angels already have their own body. That's why demons, to separate that, demons search for a body to jump into, or animal, or whatever they can get into. But the fallen angels that was created, they already had their own body. So they said, we're going to go down earth and we're gonna start this up. So they had sex with these women, and then came the giants. Now, I want to say that right there first before I go any further. Now, keep this in mind, my sister. Who was causing all this? The wicked ones. Okay, but JT, what did it have to do with the animals? I'm glad you asked. Now, anytime you try to corrupt the bloodline or start up something, back in these days, they would go through anything they can go through. They can get their hand on. So a lot of people won't teach this like this. I don't know why, but something had to happen to those animals. Now, let's take it a step further. Go to Leviticus chapter 18, look at verse 23. It says, neither shalt thou lie with any beast to defile thyself therewith. Neither shall any woman stand before a beast to lie down thereto. Why? Because it is confusion. Now, in this daytime, you know what they call it? Bestiality. What you see going on now, it already happened before. How many times you saw so many people sending you a video or something with a human being trying to have sex with an animal? They call it bestiality. So in my spiritual mind, and I could be wrong, but I don't know it all, but in my spiritual mind, I believe that these wicked ones was also messing around with the animals. And then you see, this is not the only scripture in Leviticus. This is not the only scripture in the Bible that tells you about bestiality. You see other scriptures in there. In other words, the Most High was saying, do not have sex with an animal and defile yourself with it. A woman must not present herself to an animal to have sexual relations. Now, this is way back in Leviticus, the Old Testament. You see what I'm saying? Why was this said also, once again? Because to me, they was messing around with the animals, trying to corrupt all they could corrupt. When you move to Exodus 22, verse 19, it says that anybody, I'm just paraphrasing, Exodus 22 and 19 says the same thing pretty much. Anybody that has sexual relationships with an animal, they got to be put to death. That's scripture. You can go to Leviticus 20, verses 15 to 16. If a man has sexual relations with an animal, not only do that man be put to death, but you need to kill the animal also. So back then, if it happened, they killed the animal and they killed the man. Or they killed the animal and they killed the woman. Your blood was upon your head. Got to be put to death. Deuteronomy 27, verse 21 says, cursed is the man who has sexual relations, with an animal. So I'm saying all that to say this, sister. You see in the Bible where you was put to death for corrupting an animal. because that's perversion. That's wickedness. That's an abomination. So I just tied it in together. Like I said, I could be wrong, but because you don't read, you just don't read it in Genesis that, oh man, they slept with the animals. But when you keep studying the Bible, you can put two and two together. Because if the animals was not wicked, the Most High wouldn't have had no reason to kill those animals. But once again, all of them was not killed. Look at the ones that got on the ark. Now, we saw the ones that it said they got wiped out, but then the ones that got on the ark, those were the ones that wasn't corrupt. They wasn't messed with. Because I'm trying to just figure out in my spiritual mind, what else reason would you have to destroy an animal if wasn't nothing wrong with that animal? If you sleep with animal, see, that's why I'm gonna say this as I close. That's why even with us as human beings, you got to be careful who you opening up your legs to, and men, you got to be careful who you running up in. Because let me tell you something: these spirits, once they travel, once they get inside of each other, and you wonder why you acting a certain way or why she acting a certain way, it's very dangerous and it's very confusing. So that's why, to me, those animals got destroyed like that. You know, just like in other passages when you read the Bible, killing the thing that they got. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I don't care if it's the animals, the children, kill the babies, because the Most High already knows what's corrupt and what's not. Because if it didn't get destroyed, it'll cause a whole lot more trouble. But thank the Most High for finding grace in the eyes of Noah. And Noah, the Bible say Noah was perfect in his generation. I believe I'm saying it right. If I'm not, y'all correct me. That's why he used Noah and started up. But with that being said, we got to understand this, sister. Everybody that you see in this life right now is not human. If he said it was going to be just like the days of Noah before his return, now we know what happened in Noah's day. So what make you think that everybody walking around here is human? You know why you can't tell the difference? Because they look just like us. See, they don't teach you this stuff in a lot of these churches. But come to this page, I'll teach you. We'll deal with it. You have a wonderful, wonderful, blessed day. And much love to y'all. Take care now.